That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is the mayor of Efrat, Oded Revivi. Mayor Revivi, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Mayor Revivi, tell us a little about what is the city of Efrat?
The city of Efrat is actually mentioned in the Bible in quite a few contexts. It's in the middle of the way between Jerusalem and Hebron. It's where we're told that Rachel gave birth to her son Benjamin and passed away on the way of Ephrata towards Bethlehem. And that's basically where the city of Efrat is located today, between our capital, Jerusalem, and the old ancient city of Hebron.
Well, it's one of the largest cities in Judea. It's grown in leaps and bounds, and it's actually got a very big American Israeli community as well. What caused it to grow so big?
That's absolutely true. I think it might have been the success of the city that's drawn people to come and live there. It's a very unique place because it's a very close community, but on the other hand, it's run like a city. So if you want to feel like you live in a kibbutz, in a small, isolated community, you can feel as if you live in one of those communities. And if you want to feel like you're in a city, you can come at the end of your workday, close the door behind you and not know anything about your neighbors. One of the other anchors of the city is, of course, Rabbi Riskin, who originated the city. And he brought a lot of people with him way back then from the United States. And these people have just come and grown and expanded their families, which is why we have such a high percentage of English speakers.
What I've heard recently is that a lot of tourists are coming to Efrat as well. People are coming to check out the city. What is there for tourists to see?
So we're actually investing a lot in tourism. There are quite a few restaurants, there are quite a few places where people can actually refresh themselves. But what we found out in the last years of expanding the city of Efrat, that we've got some archaeological sites which are extremely unique. We have the water aqueduct that King Horus took water from our region to two places, to Temple Mountain and to Herodion, where he built his most magnificent spa. And all this goes underground Efrat, where we are going down underground in 30 meters snapping ropes. And we actually see a stream of water that takes water all the way up to Jerusalem, the capital. And now we're expanding that tourist attraction that people will be able to come, go in it, refresh themselves, and feel like the pilgrimage who used to go up to the temple.
You know, in Efrat, it's known as one of the nicest cities. It's a modern city, but it's also ancient. But the Biden administration recently has come out very hard against building in Judea. Why is there this discrepancy in the policy in Israel and that of the Biden administration?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's always been the case that building in Judea and Samaria, the Israeli government needed to have either the approval or the closed eyes of the American administration, because there are countries who don't want to see us building in our old, ancient, biblical land. And when we actually want to build in our historical land, there is a threat that these countries will take Israel to the Security Council in the United Nations, vote for sanctions against the state of Israel. That's why we need the backing of the United States that will be able to veto such decisions. So when you have an administration like the administration of Biden or Obama, building is way more difficult, is way more slower, which brings property prices to Efrat to rise high. Prices are rising everywhere in Israel, but in Efrat they're really rising high. And one of the major criticisms that I get as a mayor is that the property prices are so high that young couples just can't afford buying properties and living next to their parents.
But if you go to Efrat, you do see building there. Are there building plans or are houses being built?
Unfortunately, I think by your question, you haven't been in Efrat for quite a while. Mm-hmm. We haven't had new building taking place for a few years. It's definitely giving its indication on the property prices. We have plans which can be approved with one signature to triple the size of Efrat. It will also provide answers for people who can't afford building and buying in Jerusalem and can live in a suburb of the capital. But unfortunately, these signatures haven't come yet. And we're praying every day that these signatures will actually come and somehow ease the property prices in Efrat.
You've been the mayor for a while in Efrat. What do you see as the future of Efrat? What is your goal for the next 10 years?
So that's an excellent question, because tomorrow we're actually going to get the prize of excellency of the best educational system in Israel. It's the second time we're getting it in the last decade, which is quite remarkable because each year only 5 municipalities in Israel get it, and we have over 257 municipalities in Israel. So make your math and you'll know that we have a very good and strong educational system. So if I want to wish what will happen in the next 10 years is that we'll get the prize award of the educational system once again, we'll multiply the size of Efrat, and we'll carry on to preserve its uniqueness.
Bible-believing Christians are very supportive of Israel and Judea and Samaria. Do you see any of that kind of support in Efrat?
We saw it in the past. There were people who came, gave donations, toured the city of Efrat. Today, we see them mainly coming and exploring, touring the city, coming to learn about the history. And also sometimes people are a bit afraid of going into the hostile city of Bethlehem, which unfortunately the Muslims have taken over, kicked out the Christians. So when they come to Efrat, they've got an amazing view of the city of Bethlehem. So they can say, we've been in Bethlehem, but really they were just observing over the city of Bethlehem.
So May Revivi, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I would suggest you come and see in your eyes the miracle that's happening in the land where Ruth and Boaz fell in love and they were promised to prosper in Efrat. That's what we're doing. That's what you need to come and see. And then you will believe that everything you read in the Bible is really true.
Thank you, May Revivi, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.